Welcome to a special edition of the Athletic NBA show here on YouTube. We're here because our own Shams Charania dropped the news earlier today that the Washington Wizards and Bradley Beal will work together to find a trade for the three-time All-Star if the team elects to reset the roster in the near future, league sources tell Shams and Josh Robbins. And I've got Dave DeFore with me. I'm Andrew Schlecht. It seems like they're headed in that direction. I would be surprised. They hired basically guys from Oklahoma City who are in the midst of a rebuild themselves, who kind of have that rebuild brain. And I think this is where they're going to go. And so, Dave DeFore, I've got 7 Bradley Beal trades for you. Okay. Now, just to set the table a little bit, Bradley Beal makes a lot of money. If you haven't heard this yet, he makes a lot of money. In 23-24, he's set to make 47 or 46.7 million. In 24-25, 50.2 million. In 25-26, 53.6. And then in 26-27, he has a player option for $57.1 million.
I'm guessing he's going to take that.
I would guess that he's going to go ahead and lock into that.
Yeah.
Beal is probably underrated at this point because he's been in Washington. He's only 29 years old. He turns 30 June 28th, and he's still got a lot left in the tank, but we haven't seen him in a competitive environment in a long time, which definitely has us underrating him, as well as the money that's going to suppress the value some too. So whenever you hear some of these trades, just keep those things in mind.
Well, and don't forget, Andrew, the looming specter of the new CBA.
Yeah.
And the prohibitive nature of the second tax level. And I'm telling you, this is going to be, we're going to see a completely different landscape when it comes to star or max player trades.
Yeah.
No one's going to seem nearly as valuable as they used to be because of the money.
Yeah, it's true. You have to be very sure that this is going to help you reach your goals. And not every NBA team has the goal of winning a championship. I'm very well aware of that. Some just want to be competitive, and Bradley Beal can help you do that. He can help you get there. But he also hasn't played more than 60 games since 18-19, which is also a problem if you're paying somebody that much money. Anyways, just to set the table for those of you, if you're huge Bradley Beal fans and you think that they should get a huge haul for him, some of these might be a little bit of an eye-opener for you. I think most people understand the way this is. It's already been reported that I think people are going to be shocked at like how low the value is for him. So that's kind of where I'm at. Okay.
No trade clause, man. It's the only one in the league.
Yeah.
So not only are you're asking a team to take on a significant amount of money for a player that you're saying he's underrated. I would say he's underperformed the last few years, whether his team has been good or whether the Wizards have been mired in their own funk as an organization since the Carter administration. Like, I understand that is an issue, but also Bradley Beal has underperformed. You just mentioned games, missed a lot of them. That's a problem. The defense is awful. Like, I mean, individual defense, like you can control that. So there are some concerns there, but the biggest ones are that $47 million a year price tag in year one, ending up $57 million, and then the no trade clause. Because look, this is going to be his age 30 season. And I know that guys are just, they're extending their prime longer and longer. And there's no reason to think that he wouldn't be a good player at the end of this contract, but you never know.
You don't know. Okay. A team that we know wants to improve and has been willing to move the third pick in the draft is the Portland Trail Blazers. Now the third pick would not be involved in this kind of a deal. I don't think that you could demand such a high price for Bradley Beal. So here's the trade. Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkic, and this year's 23rd pick, which is from the Knicks and the Josh Hart deal for Bradley Beal. So we're merging Wizards West with Wizards East and just making just one fusion team. Thoughts on that kind of a deal?
I mean, offensively, you're going to like a little bit back to where you were with the CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, although you've got more size, at least with Bradley Beal,
A
but it
little
is
bit, a little bit.
a little bit.
He's
And
definitely
I actually think
stronger.
CJ's an underrated defender. So I just don't know if that's the sort of move that moves the needle for me.
Mhm.
I actually think that if I'm Portland, I'm going the other way and I'm saying, oh, Bradley Beal's going to be on the market. Well, I have a piece that's much more valuable than that. Let me maybe put out some feelers on that guy and let me start thinking about rebooting. That's just if I was Portland.
Yeah. Deal number 2. Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns for Landry Shamet, DeAndre Ayton, and a 24 first-round pick.
No way I'm giving up Ayton in that deal for Bradley Beal. I think Ayton is a really good player and relatively cheap for the amount of production. I mean, the guy plays. He's a good, whether you like him in the playoffs or not, doesn't matter. He's a very good offensive, especially regular season player, and those guys have inherent value. He's young. I haven't given up on Ayton just because he's been soft in a couple of playoffs. Like I think that new coach in there, Frank Vogel, is going to come up with a system that works for him. Yeah, I'm no way I'm giving up Ayton in this deal.
Okay. Next Beal deal. Bradley Beal to the Rockets. Let's say the Rockets are just okay, listen, we know we're not gonna get James Harden. We're not gonna get our second guy in Kyrie Irving. And so let's just allow the Wizards to just place his contract onto our books. And we can just, I mean, they don't have to take back, they could just take back picks. Or they could, and honestly, if you're the Wizards, to offer
why not?
all of
what
that.
do you want? What do you want from there? I
So
mean, like,
all I put in here, and this feels disrespectful. This feels like a very disrespectful thing to do, but I just put in Tari Eason and the 20th pick in this year's draft.
hey, you know what? If I'm the Wizards, I'm doing that. I think
kinda
Tari
like it
Eason's
too.
got that dog in him, and I love the way he plays defense. Now, I don't know what his long-term prospects look like as a player, but I like that move. It gets the money off your books if you're the Wizards, which that's the thing. Is like the Wizards are not stuck in the middle. They're stuck toward the bottom of the middle, and they're just in a place where they can't bottom out. The ownership there is not going to allow it. This at least gets them a little bit lower for the short term, but allows them to bounce back, I think, pretty fast because you get a good pick this year, late round. You can get a guy who's maybe ready to play next year. You have a young team. I mean, they have a young coach. I think that they're in a good position to do something like that. And for the Rockets, Şengün and Bradley Beal running DHO. I mean, Bradley Beal is actually really effective in dribble handoffs. And I think him and Şengün would be a good pairing. They're not going to be a good team, but they would they'd be better than they are.
Yeah. That one again feels a little disrespectful to Bradley Beal, but I do think that it helps both teams probably accomplish what they want to, which is the Rockets want to be better now. Although I just wonder about the Jalen Green aspect of it, because Beal and Jalen Green basically occupy the exact same space on the roster, which is like,
but Beal is he's obviously way better. But
he's way older too. He's way older too.
It would take away the development from Jalen Green.
Yes.
Do you devalue him? Do you have to make another move maybe to get off Jalen Green and hopefully get more win now players, if you're the Rockets? Because I can't imagine making a trade for Bradley Beal and just saying, hey, well, we're going to tank for another couple of years.
Yeah. Next Beal deal. Beal to the Nets for Ben Simmons and 2 first-round picks, 2 future first-round picks.
I think it depends on whether you think Ben Simmons is going to play again.
He's only got 2 years left as opposed to the 4.
And the Nets would still be not. I mean, it depends on what they're going to do. Like with Cam Johnson, are they going to pivot and go into their own tank? Which I guess if they were getting Beal, they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't love it because of Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
And the picks I don't think those picks would be as valuable. Like, I mean, Houston, those picks would, because Bradley Beal's not going to make that team much better. But I think you put a guy like Bradley Beal with the wing defense that they can roll out there. Obviously, Nick Claxton is a really good defender inside. So they can have a good defense around Beal. That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not a bad one. But the Ben Simmons part of that's scary.
It's a little scary for sure. Next Beal deal. Bradley Beal to the Mavericks for a lot of bad money. Okay. So this is like, hey, you don't want that money. We don't want this money. And so to offset it, they're going to have to deal the 10th pick. So it's Tim Hardaway Jr., who's got 2 years, 17.8. Davis Bertans, 2 years of 17 per. And then you got JaVale McGee, 5.7. So if you're Dallas, you're obviously upgrading your roster in a pretty big way compared to those three. The 10th pick may or may not make a big impact on the Mavs next year anyways. If you're the Wizards, you get the 10th pick and you have 8 and 10, and that's the start of your rebuild. So this might be my favorite one because the Mavericks are in a really desperate position to upgrade their roster, and the Wizards are desperate to rebuild. And you break up that contract, you can probably then do something with those contracts a little bit more easily. And Davis is really comfortable in DC. He's got
so is JaVale. I mean, let's not forget this is a homecoming for
yes.
JaVale McGee.
This is a reunion. This is a reunion.
You may have finally come up with a win-win. I love this trade. I think we should just call this one in. You kind of hit the nail on the head. If you're the Wizards, it's a jump start on your rebuild. You get that number 10 pick. But you've got good veteran. I mean, JaVale McGee is a good locker room presence no matter what. So if you're gonna have a young team, it's a great guy to have in there. Tim Hardaway Jr., hey, he still can play, still can shoot. Just he's not as good as Bradley Beal.
Mm-hmm.
But you jumpstart that rebuild, and in 2 years, that money is off the books, but you're not using that money anyway because you're not signing free agents. For Dallas, it creates a lot of opportunity. Not only do you get Bradley Beal, you don't have to worry about using that number 10 pick. So it's not a development year of any sort whatsoever. Yeah. You can actually push your chips into the table, and Bradley Beal is better than all of those guys combined and whatever that 10th pick is going to provide, unless something insane happens, which we can't predict. But then you get a guy that I think fits nicely with Luka Doncic. And I actually think that would work from an offensive perspective. I think defensively, you're going to have two guys you got to cover for, but if they bring back Kyrie, they've got that situation anyway. But you also create some roster flexibility. You get that taxpayer mid-level exception back because, JaVale McGee won't be on the roster. So there's some stuff in there that I think beyond just getting Beal for Dallas that makes a lot of sense. That's a great trade. I'm bad at fake trades. That's a really good one.
That's my favorite one so far. Next Beal deal, we've got Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, which has already been reported that the Sixers aren't interested in doing that. I wouldn't do that if I'm the 76ers. I'm not even sure that it makes so much sense for the Wizards if they want to rebuild, because all that does is keep you in the middle. And so I'm not sure that and I know that most people are looking at it from the Sixers point of view, like, oh, they think Maxey can be an all-star. Well, if I'm the Wizards and I'm wanting to bottom out, give me McGee, Bertans, Tim Hardaway, young 10th pick, whoever it is, over having a player like Maxey's going to drag you to the middle right away. The Wizards are, make no mistake about it, if they're trying to make a trade with Bradley Beal, they are trying to get out of the middle and get themselves to the bottom. And they will likely be there for the next 2 or 3 years, if not longer. That's where they're trying to get. They want top 5 picks. And Tyrese Maxey is going to guarantee you the 9th pick over the next 3 years.
I mean, and let's not forget, man, Tobias Harris, he gets things done. He is a solid player. He's going to play every game for you. He's going to put up 20 and 9 or whatever. I don't even know what his numbers were this year, but you add those two competent players to, Daniel Gafford and Denny Avdia. That's a decent basketball team in the East. I mean, they're at least in the mix for the play-in. It's essentially where you're at right now. And I'm not saying that Maxey is as good of a player as Beal, but he's certainly really effective and he can get things done. And we never even seen what it looks like if Maxey's your first option. I mean, that guy's electric. Who knows what happens? So, maybe they stumble onto something. I don't like that one as much as I like the Dallas one. The Dallas one's still, that's a good trade.
It's a great trade. It's It's one that I've considered just printing off and posting in my office somewhere. That's a good one. Okay,
Gotta hang it on the fridge.
last Beal deal. Bradley Beal, he gets to go where he wants to go. Miami. They just get to the NBA Finals. They just didn't have enough to get over the hump. But now you deal Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, the 18th pick in this year's draft, and another future first to get Bradley Beal to the beach. Thoughts?
Would you do Hero instead of Duncan Robinson?
If I am the Wizards, I probably would not want Tyler Hero.
Think he's too good?
I think that he is definitely the kind of player that looks better on a team like the Wizards and maybe wins you a few more games than a Duncan Robinson could.
Right.
And also Duncan Robinson's going to be more complimentary. Like, let's say they draft Anthony Black at 8 and you're looking to develop that kind of player. Well, you need floor spacing.
Mm-hmm.
And you need somebody that's going to, and like, obviously, honestly, like having Kyle Lowry around that guy, like sign me up for that too.
Yeah.
If I'm the Wizards, like Kyle Lowry's not going to help drag you to the middle. Neither is Duncan Robinson. Hero, on the other hand, not that he's like so good. Oh man, Tyler Hero's an amazing player, but he's going to get you a few wins.
He could be a high volume guy, and honestly, the regular season, especially offensively for guards, it's about being a high volume scorer. Like that's it.
Yeah,
he could get you. He could put up 18 shots a night. He'd probably be very happy to take even more if you want him to.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, if you're the Wizards, you don't want to do Hero. I mean, I like this trade for Miami because the big question for them is, okay, what now? Because you kind of rang. They did as much as they could to wring every drop of everything out of the roster that they've got. But this is the sort of high end talent you have to add if you want to be able to compete year after year after year for a title. And so, I mean, this would be an upgrade for them over basically every 2 guard that they've run out there the last few years, considering Jimmy like a 3 or a 4 or whatever. I think that you know how it fits offensively. I mean, he'd be fantastic. It's how do they deal with his defensive effort? Maybe the effort's just there if he's on a good team.
Yeah, they close
games. Can defend.
Yeah, they close games with Duncan Robinson.
Well, the effort was there, though.
The effort was there. And I think if you play for the Heat, the effort's going to be there. And you get the triple Bs. You got Butler, Beal, and Bam.
Uh-oh. Heat culture.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued. And and if you're the Wizards, like I said, you get like 2 good vets and then some picks to play with. I still have all these deals. I think I would prefer the Mavs deal for both teams. I think it makes sense for both teams. Now, to complicate this even more, does Bradley Beal want to go to Dallas? Because he gets to choose. He gets to choose where he goes, which I think will suppress the value even more.
He not only gets to choose where he goes, but I imagine he could have a hand in what the trade actually entails. Because let's say he gets traded to the Miami Heat, or they want to make a trade with the Miami Heat, but he's like, wait, now if I go, well, the Miami Heat aren't going to have a future first that they can trade to make us better. Well, we can't have that deal. This is extremely complicated. This is why, as an organization, you can't hand that sort of power over. Again, one no trade clause in the league. And it's this one.
Unreal. Well, I'm excited to see if we get a Beal deal in the next week or so. I think the Wizards would be smart to do some kind of deal that gets some draft compensation ahead of the draft so that they can just jumpstart this rebuild and get moving in the right direction. And I think that there's going to be a team that's going to capitalize because I think Beal's got a lot left in the tank. I think this could be something that's beneficial to 2 teams heading into next season. Thanks so much for listening and for watching here on the Athletic NBA Show's YouTube page, and stay locked in to all we're doing at The Athletic.